This is Mark Belton, SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. You can see us all broing out there, hitting up some curls with my boy Omar Asmuff, a.k.a. Omar Isuf, who joined us for some deadlifting. There's my boy Silent Mike ripping up a deadlift. You notice some guys pulling sumo, some pulling conventional. Each lifter kind of has some different agenda. And what we try to do here at the gym is we try to pair up with people that we feel are going to give us the best workout. So a lot of times we look around the room, try to find someone of similar strength or someone who's doing an exercise that you think will help you get better, and we just simply fill in from there. So a lot of times I end up working out with these big fat guys, like Big Fat Dan right there, a good strong pull. There's my boy Marcus, who's been working on some sumo pulls lately. Those of you that are trying to figure out which way to deadlift, first things first is you should be able to deadlift both sumo and conventional, and there shouldn't be a huge difference between the two. If there is a difference between the two, it should only be about 30 to 50 pounds or so, one way or the other. So if you start to get too far away from that 30 to 50 pound range, I would suggest working on whichever one is weaker. Bring up that weakness, you'll train some new muscles, and you'll make your stronger deadlift stronger as well when you work on your weakness. Sumo deadlifting can be tricky, as Marcus is starting to figure out. It's a little less consistent, in my opinion, than conventional deadlifting, where you just basically are just bending down and just ripping the bar off the floor. The sumo pull takes a little bit more tender loving care. You got to really pay attention to your form and your technique, and also how often you're doing it. You can definitely over deadlift yourself. You can definitely over sumo deadlift yourself, even more so than the conventional style. The sumo deadlift tends to place a lot of stress on your hips, and a lot of stress on your groin, and even your hammies, and that's what ends up making it so difficult. Ed Cohn, the great Ed Cohn, the greatest powerlifter of all time, 901-pound sumo deadlift, 887-pound conventional deadlift. Cohn used both methods in training to make himself a better lifter, but he only used some sumo deadlifting the last few weeks before a contest, the last 4 to 6 weeks before competition. And the reason for that was if he sumo deadlifted too much, it started to mess up his hips. His hips would be compromised, and that would start to affect his squats as well. Here's my boy Omar setting up for a good strong pull there. See how he's getting his body back behind the barbell? That's exactly what you want to do. You want to try to utilize your legs. You want to try to utilize your quads. You also want to try to get your back flat. So the two things we always preach and talk about is try to get your back flat and try to get your hips lower than your shoulders. If you can remember those two things, then you're doing a pretty good job. Getting your shoulders behind the bar can become really important as well, so you don't pitch forward too much. There's a triple with 615 pounds. I haven't done anything like that in quite some time, so my strength is coming back. It's feeling pretty good. Here goes our boy Dave Zyski. I'm sprinkling some good luck dust on there, some chalk on there as he goes to do his deadlift. He's preparing for Raw Unity coming up. I look for David to hit some big numbers in that competition. There's my boy Fat Dan going again. Dan's got a tough time of getting his back flat, but he does a pretty good job of getting into good position on the deadlift due to he's got pretty good mobility. Here's Mike. It looks like Mike has kind of moved over to a different barbell along with Omar. They're broing out here in the corner together, hanging out, as Omar would say. Whenever you're doing your sumo pulls, you want to try to make sure that you're spreading the floor apart and that you're forcing your knees out and that you're trying to actually lock your back in and sort of squat the weight up. The range of motion becomes a little bit less. That's one of the huge advantages of a sumo deadlift. I believe this is around a 625 pull. I'm not very good at math, so we couldn't quite figure out how to get more weight on there. And so I only added 10 pounds instead of what I thought would be like 50. That's why I get about halfway up and then it just kind of shoots up like a rocket, because I didn't realize how much weight was on the bar. Trying to add up these kilos and these pounds gets to be way more complicated than it should be. Marcus setting up again for another sumo pull, and you see right there is a good illustration of how you're trying to get your knees out to where your feet are. People always want to know how wide they should go on their sumo deadlifts. It's highly determined. There's Mr. Robot Pants. Highly determined by how well you're able to get your knees out. And you'll see here from Robot, he's able to force his knees out, try to get your knee out to where your ankle is. And you want to try to be upright. Again, the hips are lower than the shoulders, and the back should be flat. There goes Omar with another conventional pull. And here I go with a 675 deadlift. Haven't done anything like that in quite some time, so that felt pretty good. Even though I'm retired from powerlifting, I'm still powerlifting like a son of a bitch. The show must go on. Still always trying to get stronger, still always trying to get better no matter what. There's Dave Zyski making it look easy, that son of a bitch. And Fat Dan, he's been overcoming a back injury, and so he's had to kind of come back a little bit slow. Kind of interesting when we get new guys in the gym. Whenever they get hurt, I immediately always think that I'll never see them again because powerlifting is difficult and it's a long journey. It's not always fun. There's a lot of pain associated with it, and not everyone wants to be able to, not everybody can endure that pain. Here's some random guy coming in. We get a little randomness going on here and there at Super Training. I believe he was from like North Carolina, South Carolina, one of those Carolinas. There goes Mr. Robot Pants with a very efficient style of pulling there. But we get people from all over the country and all over the world visiting Super Training Gym. It's always fun to have new people in there. It just helps us keep the energy up, helps keep everybody excited. Fat Dan once again. How many sets did Fat Dan do on this day, ladies and gentlemen? He's really trying to like exercise that belly away, I think. He might be in the gym for 4 or 5 months straight if that's the case. There's my boy Silent Mike setting up for some front squats. You're not going to see me do front squats because it's just a little bit hard for me to get in position. But a front squat is an awesome movement. Those of you that can do it, I encourage you to do it. Just a tip that I always like to share with people is, you know, the movements that you're capable of doing right now, especially if you're in your 20s and maybe early 30s, you should be able to do those into your 40s and into your 50s. So try to make sure that you're using full range of motion, and try to make sure that you're not neglecting some simple exercises such as lunges, step-ups, front squats, full range of motion squats, and various forms of deadlifting, and even things like overhead squats. For years, powerlifters were told that they didn't really need to do direct shoulder work, and for some reason I listened to that advice. I shouldn't have, and so nowadays it's very difficult for me to do just a standard overhead press. This is a Croc lock from EliteFTS.com, and I thought it was a handy dandy device, and so I figured I'd share it with you guys. It's got some rubber on the inside, and then it has a Velcro strap, a little strap-on action there, and it locks on there really well. It's a good, effective collar, and it's pretty inexpensive. Check it out at EliteFTS.com. And that is it from SuperTraining.tv.